Most people believe genius is loud, visible, and celebrated. In reality, the most brilliant minds often feel misunderstood, disconnected, and strangely out of sync with the world around them. If you've ever felt like your mind moves faster than your life, if you struggle with boredom, existential thoughts, or a quiet sense that you don't fully belong here, this is not a flaw. It is a sign of a different cognitive architecture. Thinkers like Carl Jung, Nietzsche, and modern cognitive scientists have all pointed toward this hidden pattern: intelligence that turns inward, reflects deeply, and quietly reshapes reality from within. In the next few moments, you will discover 7 rare signs that your brain may operate on a genius-level pattern. And by the end, you may see your mind, your life, and your destiny through a radically new lens. Genius is often misunderstood as a measurable score, a certificate, a trophy, or a visible performance. But in reality, the architecture of brilliance is invisible. It operates beneath behavior, beneath language, beneath social identity. It is a way the mind organizes reality, a silent internal framework that shapes perception long before thought becomes speech. Most people are trained to consume information linearly. They learn facts, repeat them, and move forward. A brilliant mind does something entirely different. It builds networks of meaning. It connects ideas across disciplines, across time, across symbolic and emotional layers. Where others see isolated details, a high-level mind perceives underlying structures, hidden relationships, and subtle causal chains that stretch far beyond what is immediately visible. This is why many highly intelligent individuals feel disconnected from conventional systems. Schools reward memorization and obedience. Societies reward conformity and predictability. But a mind designed for synthesis, abstraction, and metathinking does not naturally thrive in environments built for repetition. It thrives in spaces of complexity, ambiguity, and philosophical uncertainty. There is also a mystical dimension to this. Ancient philosophers believed that intelligence is not merely stored in the brain, but emerges from the relationship between consciousness and the cosmos. Plato spoke of recollection, the idea that learning is remembering something the soul already knows. Taoist sages spoke of intuitive wisdom that flows spontaneously when the mind aligns with the deeper order of reality. Modern neuroscience, in its own language, now echoes this by describing intuition as pattern recognition occurring below conscious awareness. When you possess this architecture, you don't just think differently, you feel reality differently. Time can feel strange. Conversations can feel shallow. Social rituals can feel theatrical. You sense that beneath ordinary life there is a deeper operating system, a hidden code shaping behavior, destiny, culture, and personal identity. Many people with this cognitive pattern grow up believing something is wrong with them. They are told they are distracted, too intense, too philosophical, too detached, too curious. Yet these are often the very traits that define visionaries, mystics, inventors, and philosophers. Their minds are tuned to complexity rather than comfort, to meaning rather than routine. There is also a quiet loneliness that comes with this architecture. When your mind naturally explores existential questions, cosmic patterns, and psychological depths, it can feel like living on a different layer of reality. You may enjoy human connection, yet still feel that others are speaking a different mental language. This is not superiority. It is difference in cognitive frequency. Your brain may not be built to simply consume the world. It may be built to interpret it, decode it, and reconstruct it internally in ways that most people never consciously experience. This is why brilliance often feels like restlessness. The mind is not satisfied with surface explanations. It seeks origins, mechanisms, metaphysical frameworks, and hidden motives behind visible events. In a sense, a brilliant mind is a bridge. It connects logic and intuition, science and mysticism, emotion and abstraction, self and cosmos. It is both analytical and visionary, skeptical and spiritual, grounded and cosmic. This duality is what allows certain individuals to reshape culture, technology, philosophy, and spiritual understanding. And perhaps most importantly, this architecture is not accidental. Evolutionary psychologists suggest that high-level cognition emerged to model complex social and environmental systems. Mystics suggest that consciousness evolves to understand itself. Either way, a mind that constantly seeks patterns, meaning, and ultimate questions may be part of a larger evolutionary or spiritual trajectory. You may not have been taught to recognize this architecture within yourself. Society often labels it as distraction, overthinking, or existential anxiety. But beneath these labels lies a powerful cognitive engine designed not just to survive reality, but to understand it, question it, and eventually transcend its surface layer. There is something unsettling about the way a brilliant mind experiences ordinary life. To you, thinking is not a conscious effort. It is a background current that never stops moving. Ideas connect on their own. Questions emerge without permission. Insights appear suddenly, as if they were transmitted from a deeper layer of reality rather than constructed step by step. Yet, because this process feels natural to you, you may have assumed it is normal for everyone. This is where the illusion begins. You watch others move through life with certainty, following routines, accepting explanations, and rarely questioning the structure beneath their experiences. Meanwhile, your mind keeps circling back to the hidden mechanics: why people behave the way they do, why societies organize themselves in certain patterns, why consciousness exists at all, why reality feels so stable and yet so mysterious. You may have believed this makes you anxious, distracted, or detached. You may have tried to quiet your thoughts, to simplify your inner world, to fit into a rhythm that never truly matched your cognitive tempo. But what if this friction is not a malfunction, but a signal? Many people with high-level cognition grow up underestimating themselves because their intelligence does not match the stereotype of loud brilliance. It is not always expressed through perfect grades or public recognition. Often, it is expressed through silent observation, internal simulations, abstract thinking, and deep existential reflection. Your mind may have been operating in a meta layer while others were focused on immediate tasks. While someone else memorized facts, you wondered about the system that generated those facts. While someone else followed rules, you wondered who created them and why. While someone else sought comfort, you sought understanding. This difference can be isolating. It can make you feel like an outsider in classrooms, friendships, and even family dynamics. You might feel that your questions are too intense, your interests too strange, your internal experiences too complex to explain. So you stay quiet, you observe, you analyze, you build entire universes inside your thoughts. And here's the twist that most people never realize. The traits that make you feel disconnected from the mainstream are often the same traits that define the most influential thinkers in history. The philosopher lost in contemplation, the scientist questioning established models, the mystic sensing realities beyond language, the artist perceiving patterns others cannot articulate. All of them shared a cognitive distance from the ordinary world. Your mind may resist linear paths. It may jump between ideas, blend disciplines, merge logic with intuition, science with symbolism, psychology with metaphysics. To a standardized system, this looks chaotic. To a deeper system, this is integrative intelligence. You may have felt that your thoughts run too far ahead of your life, that your inner complexity is disproportionate to your external circumstances, that your mind belongs to a future you have not yet reached. This sensation is not random. It is a form of temporal displacement in cognition, the brain exploring possibilities before the environment catches up. So when you feel that the world is slow, shallow, or strangely repetitive, it might not be arrogance. It might be that your cognitive horizon extends beyond the visible layer of daily reality. And this realization is uncomfortable because it changes the story you tell about yourself. You are not simply someone who overthinks. You are not merely someone who feels disconnected. You are not just someone who gets lost in thoughts. You may be someone whose mind is tuned to a deeper bandwidth of reality, one that most people never consciously experience. And now, it's time to decode the signs that reveal this hidden architecture. The idea of genius has been mythologized for centuries. We imagine extraordinary minds as rare anomalies, distant from ordinary people, gifted at birth with supernatural abilities. But the deeper truth is far more subtle and far more unsettling. Genius is not always loud, visible, or socially rewarded. Often it hides in quiet traits that feel ordinary or even burdensome to the person experiencing them. One of the first signs of a brilliant cognitive structure is how your mind perceives patterns. Where most people see separate events, you sense underlying structures. You notice how psychology mirrors mythology, how power dynamics repeat across history, how personal relationships echo archetypal narratives. Your mind is not just collecting information. It is constructing invisible frameworks that explain reality at multiple levels at once. This is the kind of thinking that leads to breakthroughs, because it does not merely react to the world, it maps it. Another sign appears in your relationship with conversation and social interaction. Casual talk can feel strangely hollow, as if language is being used to avoid meaning rather than express it. You crave depth, complexity, and authenticity. Discussions about consciousness, philosophy, destiny, hidden psychology, power, spirituality, or the nature of reality feel energizing, while superficial topics feel draining. This is not social awkwardness. It is a cognitive preference for high-dimensional information. Your mind is tuned to signal, not noise. A third marker lies in the way intuition and analysis merge inside you. Some people rely purely on logic, others on instinct. A highly developed mind often moves between both without noticing the transition. You may experience sudden insights that feel almost prophetic, followed by a logical structure that explains them afterward. This is the fusion of pattern recognition and conscious reasoning, a rare cognitive loop that allows both visionary thinking and scientific precision. Then there is your inner world. While others seek constant stimulation, you often retreat into thought, imagination, and introspection. Your mind creates scenarios, explores identities, simulates future paths, and reflects on existence itself. This internal landscape is not empty fantasy. Neuroscience shows that this mode of thinking is linked to creativity, planning, empathy, and philosophical depth. Your mind is not escaping reality. It is modeling it from the inside. Another profound sign emerges in your relationship with reality itself. You do not simply accept existence as given. You question the nature of consciousness, the origin of identity, the meaning of suffering, the structure of time, the mechanics of destiny. These questions are not academic curiosities. They are existential signals that your mind is oriented toward ultimate causes rather than surface effects. Historically, this trait is common among philosophers, mystics, and theoretical scientists who reshape how humanity understands existence. Social belonging can also feel complicated. You may connect with people, yet still feel different at a fundamental level. Your interests, internal dialogues, and perceptions often diverge from the mainstream. This can create a quiet sense of alienation, not because you reject others, but because your mental world operates at a different rhythm. This cognitive distance is not superiority. It is divergence in processing depth and speed. Finally, there is a subtle inner awareness that your mind is meant for something beyond routine survival. You may feel drawn toward mastery, creation, discovery, or transformation. You sense that your thoughts have weight, that your ideas could shape something larger than your current environment. This is not delusion. It is the brain recognizing its own trajectory, like a compass pointing toward a future version of itself. Taken together, these signs form a hidden constellation. They do not guarantee fame, wealth, or success. Many brilliant minds remain unknown, misunderstood, or underutilized. But they reveal a cognitive architecture designed for depth, abstraction, and meta-level understanding. Your brain may not be optimized for comfort. It may be optimized for comprehension. And this is the central insight. Brilliance is not always a gift that makes life easier. Often, it makes life more intense, more complex, more existential. It pushes you to see beneath appearances, to question assumptions, to sense patterns that others overlook. In this sense, genius is not a label. It is a way of experiencing reality itself. If you recognized yourself in those signs, there's a quieter layer beneath them that most people never talk about. Intelligence is rarely experienced as pure advantage. Often, it feels like weight. It feels like standing in a room where the lights are brighter for you than for others, where details are sharper, where questions never stop forming. You may have felt different long before you had language for it. As a child, you might have sensed that you were observing life from a slight distance, as if you were both inside the experience and outside it at the same time. While others focused on play, rules, or immediate rewards, your mind wandered toward questions about identity, death, infinity, meaning, power, or the nature of existence. You may have learned early that sharing these thoughts could make you seem strange, intense, or disconnected. So you learn to hide parts of your mind. You may have learned to simplify your thoughts when speaking. You may have felt that explaining your inner world required too many words, too much context, too much effort. And over time, silence became easier than translation. This creates a subtle loneliness. Not dramatic, not tragic, but persistent. You can be surrounded by people and still feel like your deepest experiences are happening in a private dimension. You laugh, you connect, you function, yet there is a layer of perception that feels unseen, unshared, almost sacred and isolating at the same time. Many people with this cognitive pattern also experience self-doubt. Because their thinking is non-linear, intuitive, or abstract, it may not align with traditional systems of evaluation. You might have felt underappreciated in school, misunderstood by teachers, or labeled as distracted, unmotivated, or inconsistent. You may have questioned your intelligence because your mind did not express itself in standardized ways. But intelligence is not always linear. It is not always obedient. It is not always visible in structured environments. Sometimes it is chaotic, visionary, philosophical, or quietly analytical. Sometimes it unfolds in solitude rather than performance. You may have also felt a strange tension between ambition and detachment. Part of you wants to understand everything, to master ideas, to shape reality, to leave a mark. Another part of you feels detached from conventional success, fame, or social validation. This internal duality can feel confusing. It can feel like you are meant for something significant, yet uninterested in the usual paths that lead there. This is a common experience among deep thinkers, mystics, and innovators. Their minds are oriented toward meaning, not just reward. They seek truth, not just status. There is also the emotional intensity that often accompanies high cognition. You may feel emotions deeply, not only in a personal way, but in an existential way. Joy can feel cosmic, sadness can feel philosophical, anxiety can feel metaphysical. You may reflect on emotions rather than simply experience them, analyzing their origin, purpose, and symbolic meaning. This can be exhausting. It can make rest feel difficult. It can make the world feel heavy and profound at the same time. And yet, this is also where wisdom grows. Your struggles are not separate from your intelligence. They are part of its formation. Your doubts sharpen your insight. Your loneliness deepens your empathy. Your existential questions expand your awareness. You are not broken for thinking this way. You are not flawed for feeling this depth. You are not strange for questioning reality itself. You are someone whose mind naturally touches layers of existence that most people never consciously explore. And recognizing this is not about ego. It is about understanding the terrain of your own consciousness, so you no longer fear its depth. There comes a moment when intelligence stops being something you analyze and becomes something you inhabit. Awareness shifts from being a tool to being a presence. This is where awakening begins, not as a dramatic event, but as a quiet recognition that your mind is not just a processor of reality, but a participant in shaping it. If your brain carries the patterns of a brilliant mind, then your task is not to suppress it or force it into ordinary structures. Your task is to learn how to listen to it. There is a difference between being trapped in thought and being guided by it. One is noise. The other is signal. Start by observing how ideas move through you. Notice how certain thoughts arrive fully formed, as if they were waiting for you to notice them. Pay attention to the way your intuition guides you toward books, conversations, paths, and questions. This is not random. It is your cognitive architecture expressing direction. Ancient mystics believed that awareness is a form of power. When you understand how your mind creates meaning, perception, and identity, you gain the ability to reframe your experience of reality. You stop being a passive observer of life and become an interpreter, a designer, a conscious participant in the unfolding of your existence. This awakening is not about feeling superior. It is about responsibility. A mind that perceives deeply carries a responsibility to understand itself, to refine its focus, and to transform raw cognition into wisdom. Intelligence without awareness can become anxiety, arrogance, or isolation. Intelligence with awareness becomes clarity, compassion, and creative force. You are invited to slow your relationship with thought, not to silence it, but to witness it. Notice how your mind builds stories about who you are, what is possible, and what is real. Once you see these narratives, you realize they are not fixed structures. They are dynamic constructions that can be rewritten. This is where philosophy meets mysticism. The philosopher questions assumptions. The mystic experiences the fluidity beneath them. When these two perspectives merge inside you, your mind becomes both a microscope and a telescope, examining the inner world while sensing the vastness beyond it. Awakening does not require leaving the world. It requires seeing it with a different level of clarity. When you recognize the patterns in your thoughts, the motivations behind your actions, and the subtle influences shaping your identity, you step into a new relationship with consciousness. Your intelligence becomes a compass. Your curiosity becomes a guide. Your awareness becomes a threshold. You begin to sense that your mind is not isolated inside your skull. It is part of a larger network of meaning, culture, evolution, and perhaps something beyond language. When you think deeply, you are participating in a process that stretches across generations of thinkers, seekers, mystics, and visionaries. So the invitation is simple but profound. Do not shrink your mind to fit a smaller reality. Expand your awareness to meet the depth of your mind. Let your questions lead you, let your intuition inform you, and let your reflection transform you. This is not a journey toward becoming someone else. It is a journey toward fully inhabiting the intelligence you already are. There is a quiet truth about brilliant minds that history rarely celebrates. Most of them never stand on stages. Most never publish revolutionary books. Many never receive recognition at all. They live ordinary lives while carrying extraordinary inner worlds. They walk through familiar streets while contemplating the architecture of reality. They sit in ordinary rooms while exploring the nature of consciousness, identity, destiny, and time. Their genius does not announce itself. It whispers, observes, analyzes, and transforms silently. If you saw yourself in these signs, it does not mean you are destined for fame or extraordinary achievement in the conventional sense. It means your mind is tuned to a deeper layer of experience. It means you are capable of perceiving patterns, meanings, and possibilities that remain invisible to many. This awareness is not a badge. It is a responsibility. It asks you to treat your thoughts with respect, to refine your curiosity into understanding, and to transform complexity into wisdom rather than confusion. You are not required to change the world. Sometimes the most profound transformation happens within a single mind that learns to understand itself. When you recognize how your cognition works, you stop fearing your depth. You stop shrinking your questions. You stop apologizing for your intensity. You begin to live as someone who knows that reality is more layered than it appears, that consciousness is more mysterious than language can express, and that intelligence is not just a tool, but a lens through which existence reveals itself. Some minds are built to follow paths. Some minds are built to question them. Some minds are built to imagine entirely new directions. If yours is one of them, then your journey is not about fitting into the world as it is. It is about understanding the world deeply enough to navigate it with clarity, purpose, and quiet power. And somewhere in that understanding, you may realize that brilliance was never something you had to become. It was something you were slowly remembering how to recognize.